We discovered that there's an extreme water deficiency in Makueni, to the extent that is nearly a disaster. Similarly, we identified that the problem of sanitation cuts across the county. In fact, even the county headquarters is suffering from proper sanitation facilities, and therefore it has occurred to me and our team that the first thing that we must tackle decisively, and will have what you call a ripple effect, is water. Because if you have water, then you can talk about sanitation. Since a lot of people don't have water, you can talk about sanitation. A lot of Makueni residents, and particularly the majority of whom depend on agriculture. Over 75% of our residents depend on agriculture and rain-fed agriculture. So once we can figure out conservation of water and the water agenda properly, then the question of the agriculture also falls into place. I have also figured out that if you can figure out the water situation, you can figure out both agriculture and health, because the problems we are having in our hospitals today, the high consumption of antibiotics in our budgets every quarter is a result of diseases that can be prevented because of figuring out agriculture. Once you figure out agriculture, the question of industry, the question of tourism, the question of investment comes into place, and therefore the access that is key for purposes of agriculture and getting the outputs of our farmers to the market, therefore ties to their livelihood. So, but the center of that circle, right in the middle of that circle, is the lack of water in Makueni. And that is something that is very key to me. 75% of the farmers in Makueni are agriculture dependent. We are leading in production of mangoes in the country. That does not translate into improved livelihoods for the people of Makueni. So what am I saying about sustainable agriculture? When I sat with the farmers, they said, we are prepared to go to our shambas, but unless you get us the market, we are not going to go to cultivate, because the mistake we have made in the past is to start thinking about the market at the tail end. So what am I saying about sustainable agriculture? People, it's sustainable livelihoods. People can make money from their agriculture. We can put together many farms, and people can then use reasonable water facilities so that you aggregate on the farming, so that you don't have 10 portions of 1 acre each, as opposed to 50 acres or acres where people can grow the same crop. I know somebody who's looking for a huge market for what we call white beans. So we're going to put together farmers so that they can do this. I know cooperatives of mangoes, cooperatives of horticulture, cooperatives of milk. All they need is the government to figure out their markets, and they will be able to do this for purposes of sustaining themselves. But even more in terms of food security, once you have people with money in their pocket, they will either not sell all the food, or if they do, they will have money to buy adequate food when we have drought like we are having. We are spending a lot of money in health. 50% of our budget is going into the health component. As at June of this year, this county spent 108 million shilling purchasing drugs. Last week, I negotiated with KEMSA to give us on credit another consignment of drugs worth 110 million shillings. That's already 200 million shillings. What does that say? It says we have a problem. We have a problem because we are spending so much money every quarter, and it doesn't appear as if we are dealing with the question of health. Health of the people of Makueni is key to everything else we are doing. Because if they are not healthy, they will not go to school, they will not go to farm, they're going to spend money that they are supposed to save to go to hospitals, and therefore these people will continue in the cycle of poverty. And therefore I'm saying that everything we are doing and everything that we are thinking about with the health department is for purposes of ensuring that the people of Makueni eat well, live well, sleep well, don't go to hospital. If they have to go to hospital, we will only do it for purposes of something that could not be prevented. I've started something very unique in the county. It's called reverse referral. As opposed to people coming out there from the rural areas to Wote for referral facilities, every week the doctors who are sitting in Wote headquarters will be going to these rural facilities to treat or even see and diagnose our patients. They have started with Mboni. This week they went to Kilome, and every other week they will be going to these facilities. I've discovered something very peculiar with our health facilities. Apparently, people come to hospital when they are coming to the market. And therefore, if we can use that opportunity where people come freely to the markets to treat them, then my own impression is that we can deal with the well-being of the people of Makueni and their health. And therefore, it is key to me, it's key to my administration, and it's key to the administration of the Republic of Kenya, because a healthy nation can only be the well-being of our country. People are spending too much money in hospitals, in funerals, etc., etc. People are saving nothing, because that saving is going for treatment and purchase of drugs. I have introduced a system which I am going to launch next week when KEMSA delivers their next consignment, that will ensure that every facility in Makueni can have a platform that can show how they are dispensing their health commodities. That is a must, because we want to know from the statistics which areas in Makueni are we having a problem with health. What is it? Is it Kilome? Is it Kaiti? What can we do to lower the cost of health? What can we do to ensure that these people's well-being is taken care of? Some of it is just repeat. So, therefore, raising concern that are we actually managing to treat our patients well? We have over 6,000 kilometers of county roads in Makueni. The access roads to Makueni are a big challenge, particularly when it rains. Makueni is blessed with our terrain, both the hills, mountains, valleys. And the people who are suffering the most are people who are coming from the hilly areas or crossing from one place to the other, or bridges. And therefore, quality infrastructure is key to our development index. Now, if you want to avoid and to improve the livelihoods in terms of agriculture, making sure that people get their agriculture to the market, I've mentioned that the weakness in our agriculture value chains is access to markets. Once we figure out the access to markets, we are fortunate enough as a county to be connected to the main artery of the Republic of Kenya, which is Mombasa Road, and which feeds both Nairobi and feeds the other part of the country, which is south. So if we can get our produce to the market, then I get the distinct impression that we are going to help improve the livelihoods of the people of Makueni. If I can get the pixie oranges, the mangoes, the avocados, the macadamia, the French beans that are being grown in various parts of Makueni to quick markets across in Kitui, across to Mombasa and Nairobi, then we will make sure that the people of Makueni can make a coin and can have money in their pocket. The portfolio of education that is devolved is both ECD, CCTIs, village polytechnics. And I have, in my manifesto, I've said that the best classroom in a school should be the ECD. I happen to be in a visit schools both here in Wote and many other places. While everybody concentrates on renovating and making sure that classes in a school are either they look good or are painted well or have a good roof or a good floor, coincidentally, nobody thinks that it's important to have the classrooms where the youngest population of children in a school is in a good place. The reason I say so is because it is important in the formative years of our children to love education and to come to school. I managed to request Kenya Pipeline to help me do a beautiful facility at Emali Primary School, which was completed just before the elections. What am I trying to do? I'm trying to ensure that the young children, enjoy coming to school. and find a good environment. I've adopted this model because I've gone to Montessori schools, and if you go to the Montessori schools and my work as a Rotarian, you find it has beautiful paintings. It has a place where they can sleep during the day. It has a place where the teachers and the people who are dealing with those students can even sit on the floor and play with the children, and they can have toys. But our ECD classes don't have that. That is quality training. Now, for purposes of the CCTIs, village polytechnics, I've been to one of our facilities in a place called Wambuli in Bone, and I hope we can replicate that in all the sub-counties. It is a beautiful facility with a lot of equipment, modern battery equipment, modern radio equipment. Now, there is a large population of the people of Makueni who have not gone beyond, say, post-secondary. And we have facilities that can train them. I was recently looking for a plumber. I could not find a plumber in Makueni or a good carpenter. I had to go and looking in Machakos. So we should be having quality training for these people. I distinctly remember when we were doing the SGR, I requested the president to allow what we call skills management. And the SGR passed through the whole of Makueni, and yet we didn't get an opportunity of training people just to manage the simple things that can be done. And it's important that we focus our education all through. In Germany, they have succeeded in education by making sure that you have 2 tiers of education, both the formal learning, the ones that you do in classrooms, and training people to work with their hands. And that is why Germany has still the best automobiles in the world, because they are done by hand. The question of trade, the question of getting investors to do trade, we had that challenge when we were doing the devolution conference. Why is it that people have not found it fit to invest in Makueni in terms of both tourism attractions and industries? It's because we have not provided an enabling environment for people to come. I have proposed that we must have, in the first instance, a buyers conference that is for the agriculture value chains, and invite people, because we have done research in Makueni, and I have the documents showing that we can even provide land for people, for investors to create industries in Makueni. I'm happy that my predecessor managed to sign a deal for a special economic zone in Gomo. That is the answer to the unemployment in the Republic, in the county. If we can have what I call Makueni Industrial Park set up, because land is available, then slowly we will find an opportunity for people to find employment. In the providing of employment, it's not just for Makueni residents. It's even for people from outside Makueni, because we are going to import skills. In the process of doing that, first we increase our own source revenue. 2, people can then invest in all this empty land that you can see, because you need accommodation. If you have industry, you need accommodation. If you get accommodation, people will need to shop. You will have big supermarkets. And therefore, since my view is that the centers of our economy are in the markets along Mombasa Road, along the highways, trade, industry is something key to the improvement of livelihoods, because our work as government is to provide service and an enabling environment for people to trade, do industry, and improve the livelihoods of people. The only way to then bring and attract people to invest in land is to plan it. We do not want a situation where you build a hotel, behind the hotel is a butchery, behind the butchery is an industry for cement, and below that is a big estate, and behind or on the side is a school. That is disorganized. In other countries and developed countries in the world, where there is supposed to be a road, even if that road is built in 50 years, it is earmarked. And therefore, it is critical. We must improve the physical planning department. From the 5 physical planners we have, every sub-county must have a physical planner, because that helps increase the value of our land. The minute we do titling, we plan our land, we map it, then the value of the land automatically increases. That gives an opportunity to the person who owns that land to trade with it, borrow with it. But even then, the people who want to lend money to our farmers, because part of the problem of this country is the unavailability of credit. We cannot give free money to people. People are prepared to get credit, but they cannot get credit when they don't have collateral. If your land is not planned, you cannot have collateral. So the people of Makueni and the people who have built all these things along Mombasa Road are suffering because they can't walk into a financial institution to get a loan. There is a lot of money available for purposes of protecting the environment. The next theater of agriculture, next theater and the discussions that are coming, and anybody who listened recently to some reports saying that the global temperature has increased by 2% worldwide, and it is projected that temperatures will increase by more than 2%. That is very dangerous. And you can see the effects of climate change in Makueni. We have had failed seasons for the last 4 years. So it occurs to me that we must preserve and conserve whatever we have so that we protect this environment, and then eventually it will help the change the natural occurrences that we are having, because the occurrences that we are having in parts of Makueni that are not affecting other parts of the Republic is because they have not interfered with the natural resources and climate. Now, we can exploit these natural resources. I have had discussions with Kenya Wildlife Forest where they are prepared, in fact, to enter into agreements with us where we can use our forests as tourism attractions, conference facilities, where people pay. That is the same thing that happens in Karura Forest. So you conserve, but at the same time, you can use that facility, that land, that public land, for purposes of tourism and improving the incomes. They can easily become picnic sites. They can easily become conference centers. We can host big meetings in there. And once you're inside there, it's a different world. Makueni is lucky to have human resource, people who work in the proper places. We have people who are working in the Kenya Museums of Kenya that have identified as nearly as 8 tourism sites in Makueni, which have never been exploited. And these are facilities that can help bring people to Makueni. They can help people get employment. They can help investors come. And these are things that I would like to focus on, because there are economies in this world who have nothing other than tourism. If you Google a number of people who are touring some of the cities in the world, you'll be shocked. They're actually just going to see either buildings or beautiful roads or beautiful lampposts. We are lucky. We have beautiful caves in places in Kaiti. We have beautiful caves in places like Chulu Hills, where even the founder of Twitter flew into the country just to go and spend a weekend in. These are things that we can exploit. We have this potential. We have also cultural sites that are available in Makueni. Once we get into a partnership with the Kenya Museums of Kenya, I have no doubt in my mind that at some point in Makueni, we must have a branch of Museums of Kenya where we can teach the community about the cultural practices, because increasingly the young people and my daughter, my son, and the people who are going to come after me will easily forget the Kamba culture. We've had a problem of thinking that youth are 30%. So everything that we do, we carve out 70% and leave out 30% to be shared amongst youth, persons with disability, and women. Coincidentally, the women and the youth are actually the majority. And therefore, it is my view that we mainstream youth in all our sectors of development. From number 1 to 10, there must be a youth component. I want a reflection of youth in my government. I want a reflection of youth in our development agenda. I want a reflection of youth in the business opportunities that we have. I want our youth in the marketing proposals that I'm looking for, so that then the youth can feel involved. When they're involved, you will see that they will exercise their minds. I have met innovators who are coming from Makueni. I've had meetings with young people who are doing so much in terms of innovation and ICT out there in other counties. I have never had an opportunity to do so in Makueni. I'm opening the platform and for the diaspora, for those people to use their skills, innovation, research to help the people of Makueni solve their immediate problems. Social inclusion is the same. Just include everybody. In the decision making, the principle about decision making is that if you are going to exclude half of the population in the decision making, you're going to get 50% of disapproval in terms of the decision. There are people who have used talent in sports, music, and others to earn a living. And it will be important that even as we do our development in all the wards, we must identify in each ward a place where we can develop both talent and sports. And I want to give my personal undertaking, a unequivocal undertaking to our partners, that on the principles of good governance, on the principles of accountability, and the principles of making sure that every coin that is given to us is properly utilized, I'll be at the forefront to make sure that we promote the principles that are key to the driving force in terms of making sure that our development partners feel comfortable that Makueni County Government is not going to use any shortcuts. Makueni County Government is going to account on time, and projects are going to be completed in good time. I will make sure that there is value for money. I am absolute key about making sure that every project has got the human component. We not only spend money, we not only have a financial statement that shows that 1 + 1 is 2, but there's value for money. But the bottom line is, what is the human component in this and the sustainability of these projects? So I want the development partners to know that I have set up a desk and the liaison whose primary duty will be to engage all our development partners. Where they need a policy, we will create that policy. Where they need a law, we will create that law. Where they need intergovernmental relations at national level, we will do so. Fortunately, the Council of Governors elected me as the chairman of the Legal Affairs and Intergovernmental Relations at the Council of Governors. So, and therefore, we have crossed the T's and dotted the I's, but the assurance that once they get here, we will have a time matrix. I will insist that we have a time matrix in terms of our development. My office will be open. There will be direct access to my office. There will be no bureaucracy. We will make sure that everything is done properly. And at the same time, whatever needs to be done lawfully and legally will be done. There will be no expediency. We will not sacrifice anything. The end will not justify the means. We will have to make sure everything is done properly. And that assurance is key, that the PFM Act, the Private Public Partnership Act, and the laws of Kenya will be followed to the latter to ensure that everything is done properly. Anybody who crosses the line in my government will have to face the consequences. That is without a